Alright, so for my presentation, I'm going to talk about personas. Personas are something that I thought I had a lot of experience with and considered myself a bit of an expert in until I turned in my personas and received a grade much lower than I anticipated. So I chose to take this opportunity to delve deeper into the topic of personas. Starting out, I asked the most obvious question: what are personas? Each article I read gave similar answers. The article I read by Theron Howard explained that personas become popular in the late 90s, and they are a tool that appear to solve the problems of how to communicate the user's goals, task environments, and needs to people from other disciplines. Personas provided a psychologically compelling means of introducing complex data about users to members of a development team in a way that they could understand and actually use in order to make informed design choices. So Howard's article continued to say that personas are essentially a representation or a lifelike model of a targeted demographic in the broad range of users who may purchase the product being developed. So essentially, personas are meant to represent the target audience, who a target audience is composed of, excuse me. So now that we know what they are, why do we make them? In addition to them being a great tool, are there any other reasons? Well, according to an article from the Design Journal on a study done to see if creating personas helps improve creativity, there are. Their study stated, our work shows that using a persona improves the performance of creative idea generation in a qualitative way. This impact makes a persona an effective catalyst for producing real innovation. Personas can get those creative juices flowing before tackling the design aspect of a project. In an article from usability.gov, personas can express and focus the major needs and expectations of the most important user groups. So to me, this shows that personas help identify what types of people will be interacting with a design. In the same article, the author states personas help to focus decisions surrounding the site components by adding a layer of real-world consideration to the conversation. They also offer a quick and inexpensive way to test and prioritize those features throughout the development process. So basically, personas are a form of user research that can help designers make the best decisions for their client and ultimately their consumers. So now we know what they are and why we use them, but what should a strong persona contain? One of the journals I looked at, Personas in Action, linking event participation and motivation to charitable and giving in sports, they broke down their process for creating personas. Their process was different from what I had originally done in the past. They sent out a questionnaire, organized data, and created personas based on trends and real data gathered from real customers. I think that this is important to use data that comes from real users instead of making up information about people that you think belong in the target audience. In a blog post from the designthinkinguk.com, questions you should ask your target audience include questions about their goals, their demographic, questions about their professional life, questions about technology, questions about motivators, and questions about motivators should be asked before compiling all the answers and dissecting them and turning them into personas. In all the articles I've read, it's stated several times that you need your personas to include demographics. You need an age, gender, status, education level, or career income and location. All of this will help to focus your design decisions. So in the blog post I mentioned before, it was stated that it's important to ask the user about technology and their experience with it. This is an important element to include in personas as it can have a huge impact on our design decisions. If your target audience won't access the website on the mobile devices, why are you going to waste time and budget developing a responsive site? In an article written by Aaron Schmidt, best practices for personas are included. He states, a persona's goals are probably the most important pieces of the puzzle. This is because user motivations and goals should be a focal point, so you need to ensure that goals of each persona are realistic. But the goals should not only be realistic, they should be related to the design problem at hand. This gives a design team a way to make more user-centered decisions. On the flip side, I think it's important to include major struggles, concerns, or inhibiting factors. This will also help the design team to avoid certain elements that may confuse or alienate their target audience. In another article I read, it stated, once you have built the depth of knowledge around your persona and you are ready to present it and start work. However, what works the best when working from a persona, a list of information that details every aspect of the customer, or turning that list into characteristics into a story so that it presents a persona in a real-life scenario. Using all of your data to sum up with a fictional person is easy when creating the goals and frustrations, demographics, and tech savvy, but it's important to take all the information and create a story to go with it, including a short bio to talk about what the user does in their spare time or their favorite quote adds another layer to your persona. So the persona should also have a photograph. Pairing that with demographics, tech savvy, goals, frustration, and bio humanizes the persona. It adds that important element of humanity. So when the design team looks at a persona, they're seeing an actual person's life, and they can do a better job in making decisions to enhance that user's experience. Finished personas tend to look like these, beautifully laid out, rich with information for designers to utilize. But I've discussed what personas are, why we use them, and how to make them successful. I haven't discussed the potential drawbacks to them. In an article by Kim Flaherty, reasons behind personas failing are discussed in depth. Kim states that personas can be created, but then nothing happens. So the discussion around them fizzles out, and now they're collecting dust in a shared drive somewhere. This situation often occurs when people don't know how they can effectively use personas to impact their projects. Ultimately, it boils down to a failure in communication and their education. So basically, unused personas are a waste of a great tool, not to mention the time and effort that went into gathering the research and creating them. If you're going to make a persona, you want to make it right, and you want it to have an impact on your final project. Lastly, she talks about how personas need to be targeted. If a set of personas are too broad, they're not going to be very helpful in making key design decisions. It's important that you put in the time and effort to making sure your personas are very detailed and targeted towards specific scenarios so that you get the best results possible. And that is the end of my presentation on personas. Thank you very much.